Perfect. How you doing? Yeah, hello boys and girls. It's Pearlo Wisdom and you're listening to the NHL Pearlo Wisdom Show, my NHL Pearls of Wisdom. Welcome Bill T to the live. Who else do we got in here? I thought I saw somebody else saying something, but yes, that is fairly exciting news for sure. Carlo has signed himself up with the Boston Bruins for a very long time for an incredibly reasonable contract. So I don't know how they got away with that, but they did. $4.1 million for 6 years. My gosh, I think Carlo's selling himself pretty short there. That's a really low that's a really low number for him. He's one of the better defensive defensemen in the league. I'll tell you, Larson in Edmonton right now is probably squirming in his seat a little bit. I wouldn't doubt if he's signing. I wouldn't doubt if Larson's calling up Carlo right now going, "What are you doing? Are you freaking crazy?" It's like, I'm working on a $6 million a year contract here with Edmonton, and now you do this? So the Edmonton Oilers are like, well, I don't know if we're going to be in, you know what I mean? Because they're basically the same kind of player. I even like Carlo better. I would take Carlo over Larson, to tell you the honest truth, I think. This was a bad move for Carlo. Great move for the Boston Bruins. Yeah, I agree. You got to sign. I'm hoping for their sake, if they're going to try to win this year, they really got to sign Hall. Leafs and Zach Hyman are not close. That was pretty much going to be the case there. He can get he's probably going to get $5 or $6 million somewhere. I think that's an overpayment by most teams. You got to look at who Hyman's been playing with for the past several years. He's playing with Marner and Matthews. Where's he going to get that opportunity out there again? I have a feeling that Hyman is a 40 to 50 point guy on most teams. So I know there's going to be somebody give him $5 or $6 million a year, though. And I know Toronto just can't do that. The Bruins will have to pay at least $8 million to pay for Hall. I don't know if Seattle will. I don't know. I don't think Seattle would grab him. Maybe somebody would. I think he's gonna. I mean, if he's going for the money, if he's going for the money, he's probably not going to be in Boston now. Zach Hyman to the Jets. I don't see what they need in another player like that, though, John. They've got a lot of players like that, especially after they trade Laine for Dubois. Like, their lineup is, if you look at their lineup, and I can't believe I don't have my cap friendly going here. They could lose. I mean, they could lose Stastny, Winnipeg. I think they're just going to be totally focused on their defense. I'm not sure they need to add anything to their offense, really. If you look at their depth chart, you got Kyle Connor, Scheifele, Wheeler. He's getting up there. Maybe because of Andrew Kopp. Are you saying that because Andrew Kopp is going to be on that top line right now? I suppose if you look at it that way, isn't he a restricted free agent? Yeah. I mean, when you think about it, Andrew Kopp probably is every bit as good as Hyman. That's a really good. He had 39 points in 55 games last year. So I think you could say, oh, Jeff, and I think he made somewhere like $7.5 million, Bill, on his last year of his contract. I think he'll get about 4 or 5, something like that. It'd be perfect if they could get Krejci and Hull signed up for 5. And then I'm sure they would be in the hunt for another winger, and a defenseman. I think Ryan Suter to Boston, to me, seems like just makes way too much sense. Ryan Suter to Boston makes a lot of sense. I think that's kind of what they got to do. They got to go with old guys that can play, because they got to be ready for a rebuild at any time. They're not going to give long-term contracts to any older players, but they should use older players to try to win another cup before they got to rebuild, I think. Yeah, everything's been pretty quiet on the Johnny Gaudreau front, hasn't they? There was a lot of talk earlier. They have been in discussions for another contract. I don't know. I don't know. Why would Gaudreau want to stay there? Like, where is Calgary going? I think that's what I'm trying to spit out here is, where is Calgary really going? Are they rebuilding? Are they not rebuilding? Like, poop or get off the pot, really, right? Yeah, I think he would be okay in Boston. It's getting a little further from his home. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen that he goes closer to home either. The question is, what are you going to... I mean, I imagine DeBrusk, would be thinking DeBrusk would be part of that deal. But you would be looking for a lot more than DeBrusk in the Gaudreau deal. So give me something out there. What's Boston going to offer up for Johnny Hockey? It's going to take way more than DeBrusk. It's going to take more than DeBrusk in a first. Like, you think about what other teams can offer. Boston, I think, is going to have a kind of a difficult time mustering up a package that can beat what, say, the Philadelphia Flyers might offer, or, who knows? Maybe he stays in the West, like the LA Kings could offer a package. If he does go on the market, there's going to be a lot of teams lining up for Gaudreau, I think. Just because he had a poor season in Calgary. I don't think there's too many general managers that think Calgary is like a prime organization for development and satisfaction of players. So Jeff Skinner did waive. It's about the only thing, one of the few right things he's done since he's signed that $9 million contract. There's no way in heck they are going to be... Seattle's not taking that contract, so for sure it's an easy out for Buffalo there. I wonder, well, who does Buffalo save? Who does Buffalo save by doing that? Let's look at Buffalo. They don't have to protect Skinner, so they got Olofsson. They will protect Eichel. He won't be traded before the expansion draft. Reinhart 3, Middlestat, Thompson 5. Anders Bjork, I think, has to be 6. I mean, they can protect pretty much everyone. It's Rasmussen 7. Yeah, they protect pretty much everybody off their roster that's worth anything as far as forwards are concerned. And as far as defensemen are concerned, it looks like Colin Miller is going to be the only pick for them. They got UFAs that they don't have to protect. It looks like their only pick with Skinner waiving would be Colin Miller. That's it. You're hearing that they may not pick Owen Powers as the top pick. If they don't, I'll be interested to see who they take. There's a lot of talk that there's people that are very high on Eklund. I've heard a lot of people saying that Eklund may go number 1. Carlo, does he have a no trade clause and no movement clause? Carlo, I didn't even notice him while I was doing this. Carlo. He doesn't have a no movement clause, so yeah, you leave him out. If I'm Buffalo, I offer up a pick to get rid of Carlo. Why not? Gives you more room to sign some more guys. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe that doesn't matter to them because they're not planning on being good next year anyway. So why give up a pick, I suppose. He may fall to Seattle. I guess they just think that Beniers is better. I mean, maybe they like Beniers. They're both from Michigan. So Seattle would then pick Powers. They may... Very, very interesting. I wasn't huge on Powers until I saw him at the World Championships. And Gallant, who is, I mean, an incredible coach, played him a ton. And he played really, really well. So it's possible Powers has told his agent he doesn't want to go to Buffalo. That's possible. I would not be surprised at all if Powers told his agent he doesn't want to go to Buffalo. To tell them not to pick me. And I was going to do a video about that here before the draft, about a lot of that stuff is happening now. Players have a lot more clout now. Players have a bigger voice now. And they can do so without telling anybody that they did what they did. I think it's very likely that's the reason why they took Jack Quinn last year, is because there were so many players that said, I don't want to go to Buffalo, I don't want to go to Buffalo. They do these draft interviews, and they interview all the players, and that player comes in, and he sits there and goes, yeah, I'm not really big on coming here. Are you going to draft the dude? Washington might go after Allmark. I heard an interesting trade. It was... yeah, I heard like they trade Samsonov to San Jose. And I can't get it for a package of picks or something like that. And yeah, and then they pick up Allmark to play with Voracek. I still like the Kuznetsov for Fleury trade. That just seems to make a lot of sense to me. I like that trade. But no, I don't think Okposo goes. I think Okposo, like, okay, let's say if you're Buffalo here, if you really want to do her up good, yeah, like I considered maybe giving up a pick for Okposo, but they need picks too badly, so you might as well just keep him until his contract is up, I guess. Maybe buy him out of his last year, send him free or whatever, or send him to the AHL. But if you send him to the AHL, you're really going to have to pretty much buy him out, because it's a really crappy thing to do. Buffalo's not in a position right now, I don't think, to mistreat players. Like, they really got to build some respect out there in the league. So sending a guy like Okposo down isn't really helping that out too much. You understand what I'm saying? Like, everything that a team does reflects on the future of what they can do. Right now, if Buffalo wants to get a free agent, there's virtually hardly anybody that's going to want to go there. And they've got to build that up again. As they're building up picks and prospects and giving themselves a sense of respectability. Treating guys like Okposo well goes a long way to, if you talk to free agents, the players talk, right? Players talk to each other in other organizations in the NHL and all that kind of stuff like that. And, they'll text you, hey, Kyle, what's going on? You're getting sent to the AHL there in Buffalo? Like, that organization must be trash. And Okposo's kind of like, yeah, it is. Where if you start now treating these veterans with some respect and showing that, if you come here to Buffalo, we're going to look after your best interests, you can start building that confidence again to get some free agents. And I think that's really what Buffalo needs to do here. So sending Okposo to the AHL, I don't think really sends a great message. Unless Okposo is an idiot and nobody likes him in the room. And, then that's a little different story, I suppose. But I think if that was the case, he would have already been sent down already. Yeah, I just did a video on Voracek here and the Philadelphia Flyers and what happened there. It's funny when you look at the wording of some of the things that Chuck Fletcher is saying. It's funny that they release this. They don't need to release this. There's a reason why a team releases this media stuff out there. There's a motive behind it. And I should have mentioned that in the video, actually. And it's kind of the fun thing that I like to do. I like to look at some of the media stuff that's out there and see what the motivation is. Basically, what they said was they made an agreement with Voracek that they could part ways. They didn't say they were going to part ways, that they made an agreement that they could part ways. So, to the extent that they'd be willing to give him up for free to Seattle. Now, interesting. And then if Seattle doesn't pick Voracek, then what they would do is they would try to trade him, and there's still open the possibility that he comes back next year, which is pretty muddled stuff. I mean, like I like to say, poop or get off the pot. You're not giving Voracek away to the expansion because you want his contract. It's obvious you don't want his contract, okay? You wouldn't be doing it if you didn't. And if you thought for sure you could trade him to another team, then you wouldn't be giving him to Seattle because you would just wait and you could trade him to another team. They pretty much know that there's nobody out there that's going to take that contract without them giving a pick. So Seattle is sitting there going, yeah, whatever. You're going to have to give me a pick to take Voracek. Nice little games. And then they basically, so their Philadelphia's really only threat is then, you have to take somebody else. And I think Seattle will call their bluff. And eventually, I would hope that Philadelphia says, look, we'll give you a second round pick. And you take Voracek and take him off our hands or something like that. And then I don't know if Seattle will do it for a second, or how badly do they want that $8.3 million cap space for the next 3 years? That's a juicy amount of cap space, man. Seattle will be third in the division? Possibly. I don't know. I don't think Seattle's going to try too hard to be very good next year, Dustin. But thanks. Everybody give a little Pearlo dance to Dustin. I haven't seen him in here for a while. So, woo, little hype in the chat, as the GOAT would say. See, third in the division. What do you guys, put your predictions down there. There's not a great amount of us in here right now, but put your predictions out there. What do you think Seattle will be in their division next year? They got a pretty weak division, don't they? Okay, it'll be Seattle will be with Calgary, Edmonton, Los Angeles, San Jose. No way. I don't think Seattle's going to be better than Los Angeles. I don't think they're going to be better than Edmonton. I don't think they're going to be better than Vegas. And they probably won't be better than Vancouver. San Jose, possible. But I think San Jose is going to be better than people think next year. Possibly, especially if they get goaltending, and probably better than Anaheim. But maybe not even that. Francis is not looking to win next year. I don't believe Francis is looking to win next year. The mock drafts I see where they take Bailey and maybe Johansson. They may go with Johansson to get to the cap floor from the Nashville Predators. But I don't think they're going to take those big contracts without a team giving them a pick to do it. I mean, they may take them, but fourth in the division? Sorry, I'm just putting a title up here. Fourth in the division? Yeah, I mean, I think fourth or less. Pekka Rinne retired, yeah. Great career. We had a question yesterday, Bill. I don't know if you were on, whether Pekka Rinne would be, his number would be retired. I'm leaning to think that his number might be retired. I think his number might be retired. Do you think Seattle will be second place? Do you think they're going to go for it? John and Dustin Shear? Do you think that Seattle's going to go after guys like Voracek? Do you think they're going to go after are they going to bite on maybe Bailey or Eberle? If they took some of the players that will be available like that, they could make the playoffs for sure. Do you believe that his number will be retired? Yeah. There's a lot of people that don't, and I'm really surprised by that. I think for sure his number will be retired. Obviously, John Weichel, you believe that they're going to pick up some good... Hey, CL, how you doing? You think that they're going to pick some more veteran players off the rosters and go for it a little bit here, John? Is that what you're saying? CL's in the house. We were just talking about Philly, CL. I just did a video. I don't know if you saw it. I did a video on Voracek and the whole situation there about Voracek and what's going to happen. I think Vancouver's going to be better than you think, Dustin. I think Vancouver's going to be better than you think. I think Vancouver last year had a terrible schedule to start off with. Then they got COVID. It just was a bad year. I think Demko is going to be one of the better goaltenders in the NHL. You got a full year and another year older of Pettersson, Besser, Horvat. Miller's still there. It's really they need to get some help on their defense, but I think so too. I think Rinne gets kind of crapped on a little much. He was one of the better goaltenders in the NHL for a long time. He put up some really good numbers. He got a lot of wins, considering especially he was playing in Nashville most of his career. I think Barry Trotz gets a lot of credit for them making the playoffs a lot of times, but you got to really give Rinne a lot of credit too. He played fantastic. They have actually squashed those rumors, CL. Vancouver, as of right now. Vancouver squashes. Let me look at this. Now, this could be. Now, okay, last I heard, July 5th. Now, so let's read this verb. Vancouver could see one of the... Nate Schmidt has reportedly asked for a trade. Has reportedly asked for a trade. But I thought I read something yesterday that the Canucks said they weren't interested in trading him or something of that nature. So I'm not sure. But if they do, I don't know where they would trade him to. The talk was that they maybe trade him to St. Louis for, and now they're disgruntled, Tarasenko. That makes some sense, I suppose, because they both make similar money. But then St. Louis would have like so many of the same type of defensemen. Krug, what's his name? Falk. And then, yeah, I just can't see that happening. But I suppose it'd be better than getting nothing for Tarasenko. And then Vancouver would have to go out and find another defenseman, which Justin Falk. Yeah, Justin Falk is what I was saying, yeah. They'd have too many of the same. But who else did I hear? There was some other people I heard. If Pearlo gets traded, I love Weichel. He comes up with some really cool stuff. I don't know where you got that from, but if Pearlo gets traded, forget about it. St. Louis is in total rebuild mode. So Nate Schmidt, where do you guys think that Schmidt would go if Vancouver? I mean, he's not going to go back to Vegas, I imagine, since they traded him the way they did. It really is concerning that he would now all of a sudden want to ask for a trade out of Vancouver. Where is he from? It could be just, he hasn't been happy. It says he hasn't been happy with this time with Vancouver. And why that is, there could be a million reasons. He could have had, like, he could not like people on the team. Just walking in the room every day and seeing Louis Eriksson might be enough to make me want to get traded out of Vancouver. But where is he American? He's from Minnesota. Okay, he's American. It might have something to do with it. He wants to go home. I don't think that Minnesota is a place that is going to be looking for a guy like him. He's making over $6 million for a long time. That's going to be one heck of a tough trade, I would think. Possible, Stastny. Stastny could go to a lot of places. He's a good two-way guy. He probably won't get as much as he was making before, but I mean, I think there's going to be a few teams lined up for Stastny services. But Weichel, if they're trading Pearlo, they're in full rebuild mode there for sure. What was I thinking? Maybe Kuznetsov? I mean, probably for some other disgruntled player out there that's where he would get traded that has a similar salary. I don't know if they'd be interested in Kuznetsov. Flyers shopping their first. I don't think that's very wise. Depending on what they're planning on getting, I mean, That's a pretty high pick. What do you think they're trying to get, CO, for their first? They're going to trade it for Jones? But the thing is I've heard Jones won't sign a long term with Philly. Yeah, I think that deal is possibly off the table now. Jones to Philadelphia. The question with Jones, Seth Jones, is he just going to go on the open market and that's it? Or does he have a place in mind that he wants to go? I don't know. A lot of people that leave Columbus is because they want to go to a bigger market and all of those things like that. Chicago seems like more of a possibility now that they got his brother in the Keith trade. That makes some sense. But, I mean, what's it going to cost? What's it going to cost Chicago? Kurashev, Strome, and the first next year or something like that? Like, assuming he's going to sign? Brian, Jared, why would Seattle take Zucker? I wouldn't touch Zucker with a 10-foot pole. He had a bad year last year. He's making $5 million a year. I only take Zucker if you give me a pick. You're going to give... Pittsburgh doesn't have many picks to give, but they don't really care about picks. I'll take Zucker if you give me a pick. If McCann is there, I'm all over it. I'm taking Brian McCann for sure. For sure. That would be... I just can't see Pittsburgh giving up Brian McCann. If they do give up Brian McCann, this whole rumor stuff about him being an idiot in the room might have some validity to it, but I probably roll the dice and take him anyways. Seth Jones to the Chicago Blackhawks does make sense. I don't think that investigation would make too much of a... Well, we probably won't hear anything about that negotiation for a very long time. The Wirtzes have pretty deep pockets. Yeah, I hate to say it that way, but I wouldn't doubt that's usually how these things end up. They get really quiet and you don't hear about it. And somebody's pockets are filled with a whole crap load of money. So that's probably what's going to happen there. And that's not to say that it didn't happen or anything like that. However, somebody chooses to get their retribution or whatever the case may be is their choice, I suppose. Connor Murphy to the Leafs, I suppose that's possible. I actually kind of like Connor Murphy. It wouldn't be a bad idea. I think Chicago likes Connor Murphy too, though. So in that way, I don't know. But if they go out and get Jones, maybe somebody else does open up there and Connor Murphy is available out there. I think there'd be a few teams lined up for a guy like Connor Murphy. What about Jared McCann? Oh, you'd love to see Parayko, but you don't. Sorry about that. I just saw that seal. You'd love to see Parayko, but you doubt they let them go. Yeah, for sure. That there, we would be giving up a first for that, for sure. A first plus. And I would do that for Parayko. What's Parayko? Is he a lefty or a righty? Let's look at the trusty... I think Parayko's a righty, if I remember correctly. Parayko is a righty. Like I said, like he's how old is he? He's 28 years old. If they're trading Parayko, just like fold up, man. Like really, you got to sign Parayko. You didn't sign Pietrangelo because he's older. I think that they're going to sign him probably till about $9 million or something like that. If they're going to trade Parayko, then they're going to trade everybody, I would imagine. Wouldn't make any sense. But for Philly, there would be a lineup for Parayko for sure. Right D. Who could we offer? We'd offer Myers, our first. And I don't know if we'd have to give somebody else up too. Maybe that would do it. Maybe Nolan Patrick or something like that. They could roll the dice on Nolan Patrick, but I don't think Nolan Patrick has any positive value yet right now, so that's probably not it. But one more piece somewhere along the line, maybe. Luke Glendening to the Edmonton Oilers. Sure, why? I suppose he'd be better than what we got. Wouldn't be terrible. At least he can win a face-off. Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be a terrible idea. Hey, E. Sullivan is in the house. I'm going to be so interested to see what the Maple Leafs do this year. If there's any team that I'm really unsure about, it's the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'm really unsure about what the Calgary Flames. I'd like to know, like, because they're so crazy anyways. Like, they make weird decisions all the time. So Calgary Flames, Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Philadelphia Flyers. They're the most intriguing teams right now, I think. I mean, Buffalo is intriguing, but you kind of know what direction they're going. For Philly, Toronto, you know what direction they want to go, but how are they going to go about doing it? That's going to be the kind of the coolest thing to watch for me. And Luke Glendening to the Edmonton Oilers makes sense in a sense because, of course, Holland knows Luke Glendening, so. I wouldn't be surprised if Stevie Yzerman swoops down and tries to pull something with Eichel. I wouldn't be surprised. But what are they going to offer? Danny DeKeyser getting bought out? Could, I suppose. I don't know why they would need to do that, though. Unless Danny DeKeyser just wants to go, I don't know why they would. They don't need to buy anybody out. They're not like adding tons to the cap or anything like that, so. My question is Liljegren ever going to be ready? Is Liljegren going to make it? He has struggled mightily in the NHL. But let's look at that Eichel to Detroit. I did look at that one time before. Before I do, I'm going to change the title. Okay, let's look at that. I think Larkin would have to go. If they could do it without Larkin, they'd have to give up their first this year, which is the 6th overall. Because I'm just going based on what LA could offer here. If the package were to go that high, if it was a real bidding war, it's without trading Larkin. Who would they have to give up? I think the first this year, Philippe Zadina. It's a lot. And like Dennis Chalowski or something like that. If they're really big on Zadina. Zadina he's only 21 years old. And he put up, 19 points in 49 games last year. It's not bad for a 21-year-old. That's something like that I think it would take. The 6th overall, though, I mean, Anaheim, if Anaheim is offering what I'm hearing, I'm taking Anaheim's offer over that one. And that's Zegras in the first this year. So how is Detroit going to beat Zegras and the second? Anaheim's got the 3rd overall. Is Zadina the first and, oh man. And Chalowski, that? I don't think so. I don't think that beats that. Yeah, Luke. Oh, hey, Hockey News Reports. How you doing, buddy? Tyler Bertuzzi could be part of that deal. I forgot about Tyler Bertuzzi. The question is what's going on with Tyler Bertuzzi? I'll bring up, I've heard lots about that. I think it's probably a contract thing. How come they don't have Bertuzzi up here? They still got him on the injured reserve. If he missed a lot of time, he's up for restricted free agency. He's from Toronto. I think we talked about that already. So the numbers may not be what they want, and that may be the reason why he's on the block right now. There would be a long list of people wanting Tyler Bertuzzi if he's going to get traded. Now, the question would be, is this a situation where Tyler Bertuzzi wants to go somewhere specific? And there was speculation that he would go back to Vancouver where his father played. But I don't see why that would be necessarily. He might want to go to Toronto, but I don't see Toronto ponying up any more to that forward group for a lot of significant money. Possibly Montreal or Ottawa. Ottawa's a possibility. Maybe he wants to go back to Canada to live at home in Canada. You know, that's fair. That makes sense. He's 26 years old. So he's going to be a free agent next year. Todd Bertuzzi. So if they're working on a deal and he's like, I don't want to sign a long-term contract with Detroit, that would be why he's out there. And then, you know, other teams are going to be calling, going, okay, he doesn't want to play, he doesn't want to sign long-term with you. It's the same as what's going on with a lot of the players out there, like Jones or whoever. You know, you see how players control their fate a lot more now in the NHL than they did before. Because all they got to say is, I'm not signing long-term with you. So if you trade for me, that's fine. I'll play with you for a year, but I'm going to blah, blah, blah. Or I want to go to these cities. I want to go to these cities, so I want to test free agency. In which case, Detroit loses leverage, and they end up trading a guy they really like. But I don't see why he would want to go to those places. He's in Detroit. That's close to Toronto anyways. So unless he's just tired of losing or he's asking for numbers that are just Stevie Yzerman doesn't think he's that. Maybe Stevie Yzerman doesn't think he's going to progress much more than he is right now. And he's asking for something like $7.5 million a year for 8 years. And Stevie Yzerman's like, I don't want to commit to that. In which case, the floor is a little bit more open if you can find a team that's willing to pay him 7.5 or 8, then you can start making a reasonable deal for him. And there might be some, and I wouldn't doubt that there's teams out there that would gamble on Todd Bertuzzi. Or not Todd Bertuzzi, but on Bertuzzi, Tyler Bertuzzi. Of course, the other thing that muddles it up quite a bit, and maybe the reason why there is this problem, is he was injured all last year. So how's that injury going to be? A whole lot of questions, a whole lot of gamble. And I don't see Steve Yzerman as a guy who likes to gamble too much. So if it's not working out, I guess Tyler Bertuzzi will be on their way. And there could be teams that will be more willing to gamble out there. A 26-year-old guy who looks like he could be a 25-goal scorer, maybe a 30-goal scorer, plays tough, goes to the net quite a bit. I think there's a pretty good appetite for that player out there for sure. The Stanley Cup. I don't know. Is that true? I saw it on. I saw something. I saw Kucherov holding it and it got dented. I don't think. I think that's a replica that they get to take. It's not the original. So I could be wrong about that. I didn't investigate further on it. I didn't know if it was photoshopped or... You don't hear anything about it. That was a huge dent. So whatever that was, like, it wasn't all over social media. You'd think it would have got more play than it did if it was. Yeah, I'm sure it's been dented many times before, and it's been refurbished and fixed and all of that kind of stuff like that. It wouldn't be hard to fix it. Or I'm sure they'll fix it if it was the original. I just didn't know that could be, I thought it would be tougher than that. Maybe it's not as tough as I think it is. They sent it back to Canada to get repaired. Okay. That probably costs a pretty penny. Because, like, isn't it everybody's names have to be redone again? Like, everything would have to be redone there. That would cost a pretty penny. And I know in the picture, like, Kucherov looked like he was just hammered. He's like the next Ovechkin. What is it about the Russians like to party a lot, apparently. Even though when he was doing the interview afterwards, he looked like he'd already drank enough. My gosh. The party was enormous. They got to get back on it now, though. It's a short summer again. Well, fairly short summer again. Yeah, they got to decide. I think you're only allowed 3 buyouts happening at the same time. And they could feasibly do it with 3 players. Kyle Turris, Koskinen, and Neal. I don't know. Apparently, Turris is like totally out of shape. He's just, he got the big money and he just, I don't know, he's partying or whatever he's doing. He's totally out of shape. So, if I had Turris and I'm paying him $1.6 million, I'm knocking on his door every freaking day and dragging him to the gym with one of my trainers or whatever the case may be, and forcing that guy to get in shape. Are you kidding me? I don't even care if you're not happy. At the end of it, at least you're in shape. Like, maybe you don't play, maybe you're mad at us and you want to act or whatever. You know, maybe you're an idiot, but you're an in-shape idiot. It's almost like a punishment. It would almost be like a punishment for you know, being a professional and being out of shape. Yeah, I was just on the bowl. I'm sure it's been if it can be dented like that, I'm sure it's been dented lots before and had to been fixed or whatever. So, but I know there's been huge stories of the things they've lost it before. It's been on the bottom of swimming pools. It's been mistreated quite a bit. You get a bunch of drunk people passing that thing around, and like it's they've probably been some pretty crazy. There's probably been things done to that thing that you wouldn't want to know, I would imagine. So if they buy out Kyle Turris, I think it would save them like maybe $800,000. I think they'll, I don't know. It depends on who they go after. Bradley Goodrow is playing with a broken foot. Yeah, there was a bunch of people. Kucherov had a separated rib or something like that. I don't know why people don't like Bettman. I don't know what could he do better. What could he do better? I mean, the league has expanded. Do you think it did it all by itself? I mean, yeah, if like he doesn't get any credit for the way the league has expanded. We just signed the largest contract in NHL history with American. I personally think that we need to get rid of some owners. I personally think that there's some owners that would be great to get out of here. We need to get owners with more progressive thought. I like Carolina's owner, Dundon. Got more guys like Dundon. We need more guys like Dundon out there. More owners that are able to see past their right here. And I think Bettman's had to deal with that for a very long time. And he has, over time, helped owners look at things a little more progressively. Because, like, the owners did some pretty stupid stuff, let's face it. That's the last strike, I put more on the owners than I did on the players. But why do you want to get rid of Bettman? Like specifically, like what's the specific reasons you want to get rid of Bettman? Okay. I didn't really remember that. I don't know if that was an oversight. That's it? That's the only reason? Oh, I don't know. I didn't necessarily see that, but yeah, do I think that he behind the scenes is rooting for teams like Florida and Tampa Bay? Absolutely, I do. But I don't think he's doing anything to make sure they're going to win. Blake Coleman was playing with a broken wrist, yeah. That doesn't surprise me. Blake Coleman's a beast. And he's going to get a lot on the market this year. It's going to be really interesting to see where Blake Coleman goes. I think Blake Coleman could be a better player than Zach Hyman. Or at least equal to. Which rules would you like to see change? I mean, nobody has changed more rules than Bettman over the course of the NHL's lifetime. So he's changed a lot of rules. I've agreed with most of them too. What do I know? I didn't like originally. I'm not a fan of the shootout, but I get it. And the fact is, like, if you did a poll, most fans out there like the shootout, and new fans find it exciting. So if it does, then whatever, cool. But what's some of the rules that you would change? He's got to pass that through a whole bunch of people. It's not like he can just wake up one day and say, okay, we're changing the rules. He's got to pass it through the owners. It's got to pass through the players' union. It's got to pass through a lot of different hands. Yeah, Victor Hedman was injured all year. That's why I'm glad he didn't win the Norris this year, because even to his standards, he said that he wasn't very good. He wasn't at his best this year. I'd say it was pretty darn good considering, though. Yeah, okay. Well, you and I might differ on that, Bill, because I want less suspensions, not more. I don't like the whole suspension thing much, so uh, I thought that what's his name was doing a really good job. What the heck? Paros was doing a really good job until the Scheifele thing, and I totally disagree with what Scheifele got on that. I thought I didn't have any problem at all with what Wilson did, as far as like getting whatever the suspension was. Somebody jumps on my back when you're gonna get ragdolled. Simple as that. I mean, if you can't handle getting ragdolled, then don't jump on somebody's back. The Rangers need to go get themselves somebody that can handle that stuff, because they don't have anybody there. So, boy, are you talking about the defenseman, Boy UCL? You're probably getting what he's a defensive 5'6", maybe a 7. He's not an upgrade for the Flyers, I don't think, if that's what you're talking about. If that's the guy you're talking about. What stuff have you seen that they should get suspended at least 6 to 8 games? Maybe 1 game, Bill. Scheifele was doing what a player is supposed to do in that situation. Evans has a responsibility to look up and see who's coming before he makes that play. Scheifele, his responsibility in that situation is to get as close to that net as possible to give a threat of that very hit. And that Evans should look up and go, oh my gosh, I'm going to get slammed if I do this. I got to cut back the other way and try to do it that way. Now, do I think it was excessive? It's hard for me to judge because Evans was spaghetti on the play. Evans had no idea that anybody was coming, and that is ridiculous that he had no idea that nobody was coming. It blows my mind that the league put no thought into this at all, mentioned nothing about it. What are we teaching our kids in hockey anymore? Just if you go behind the net, just stare at the puck and make sure it doesn't come off your stick. Come to the front of the net and don't worry, nobody's allowed to hit you hard. Like, that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. And I'm never going to agree to it. I think it was stupid. Do I think Scheifele slowed down? He was looking to see if he was going to go to the other side, which he should. I think he was just as surprised as anyone. I think he was totally surprised that Evans decided to make that play, and he hit him. Was he angry and ticked off and hit him maybe harder than he should? I suppose. Give him a game. Tell him you got to lay off on the kid a little bit. That's about it. But that kid has got to look up that way. Evans made himself ridiculously vulnerable on that play. And I'm still like blown away that the league makes no mention of it. You got guys like Ray Ferraro saying Evans did nothing wrong. And he said it like 3 times. Ray Ferraro, a guy who played in the league in the 80s, says this. Are you freaking kidding me, Ray? You don't believe that. Somebody told you to say that crap. No way you believe that. No way Ray Ferraro picks up that puck in the 90s. Sorry, not 80s, 90s. And I don't care if it doesn't matter that it was back in the day. I'm not some old school everything guy or anything like that. Ray Ferraro looks up before he makes that play, for sure. Ray Ferraro tells his son, who played in the league, to look up before making that play, for sure. No doubt about it. There is no way Ray Ferraro tells his son, Don't worry about looking up to see who's coming before you that play. There's no way. No way. Kevin Miller retired today, and that's too bad. He's only 32 years old. Yeah, it's 33, I think. The guy struggled so hard with injuries. I remember the last time he got injured in the playoffs with whatever it was that he got injured on. The look on his face, you could tell it was over. It was a pretty sad look on his face. It was too bad. But we'll talk about that when we come back. It's doggy time, so we're going to get into some doggy time. I'm going to go grab a coffee, and we'll come back and talk more about this fine program. And you guys are awesome. You guys bring up such great stuff. I love it. Can't wait to get back.
Greetings. This is Steel Flyers from the Steel Flyers All Sports Network, and we have two very special guests. We are delighted to be joined by Tracy Musser and Nicole Howard from the Canine Country Club Resorts. Tracy and Nicole are both managers for CCC Resorts and work at the Windsor or at the club, one of two locations both in Manheim, Pennsylvania. Congratulations on your 30th year anniversary of being in business. Let me start off by saying this. Steel Flyer stands behind this company 100%. Taking care of Steel Flyer's furry friend for the last 2 years now, and they are a one-stop shop for everything your furry friend needs. In fact, let's find out what our friends at CCC Resorts offer. Nicole, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
Doing great, thank you. What are some of the great boarding services that you guys offer, and what do we have to do in order to get our furry friends taken care of when we are unable to travel with them?
Well, we like to bring everybody in for a tour first. That way they can see the behind the scenes, they can see where they stay, they can see where they play, and then we explain all of the fun things that we can add on to their reservation, whether it be one of our packages, either a nature walk, a ball time, or even a cuddle time.
Oh, wow, that sounds great. Boy, it sure sounds like a resort to me. So how are you today, Tracy?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Tracy, tell me, is it true that you guys have both an indoor and an outdoor pool at the Windsor location?
It is true. We've got one of each, so we're able to offer year-round swimming. The indoor pool is a great option for dogs who are swimming for therapy or rehab. It's got that sloped entry so they can wade into the water. Our outdoor pool is a little bit larger, and it's 4 foot deep the whole way across. And both of them are saltwater pools, so it's really easy on the dog's skin and coat.
Wow, that's very awesome. So then during the summer months, you have a much deeper pool outside and then a sloped entry shallow pool indoors for the dogs. Tracy, tell the folks how we can get some pool time.
Well, the first thing everyone does is come for an intro swim. We use that time to make sure the dog is comfortable in the water. We make sure they know how to get out of the pool safely, and we go over all the pool rules and etiquette with the clients as well. After that, they're able to schedule private appointments where they have the pool to themselves, or they can invite friends and have a whole group swim going on.
So after a dip in the pool, then it would have to be off to the groomers, right? I mean, our furry friends cannot go out looking their best. Nicole, what are some of the great services your top-notch groomers provide?
Our groomers, they specialize in full service grooms. We can do the basics, whether it be just a bath and a brush out or a blowout. Or for the extra pampered pooches, we can do nail dremels, we can do deodorizing soaks, and also facials.
Wow, man, that sounds like a resort if you ask me. Tracy, I know one of the main programs here at CCC Resorts is the WAGS program. The Steel Flyers dog is enrolled in this program. So why don't you tell the folks what is involved in this and how they can get enrolled?
Yeah, the WAGS program is our primary daycare option at the Windsor. It's designed to be a structured program for people who are looking for a set routine for their dog. They all come on the same days each week, which allows them to have set friends, and we know exactly what's going on with each group. So we do a little bit more activities, and we build more into their daily routine there. But we've got other daycare options as well for people looking for a little less commitment. We do an hourly care where you can drop them off and just pay by the hour. We also do a day stay option, which is great for the dogs that prefer human friends instead of making friends with other dogs. And then we have a traditional daycare option as well if you're looking for the occasional outing for your dog.
Wow, there you have it. A full service groomer, a daycare program, and an indoor and outdoor pool. What more could you ask for? Sure seems like CCC Resorts has everything covered. Remember, DOG, depend on God.
All right, we're back. I want to say that the Carlo contract was absolutely amazing. Well done, Boston Bruins. Does anybody know if that contract... My Italian Mastiff? Oh, nice. You have an Italian Mastiff? That'd be freaking awesome, dude. Does anybody know with that Carlo contract if he got a no movement clause? There has to be. Elliot in the house. How you doing, Elliot? Oh, I think that Carlo contract is. What do you got going on, Elliot? Haven't heard from you for a long time. But I'm going to look it up. Did that Carlo contract have a no movement clause? Details. It doesn't say anything about a new no movement contract, no movement clause either. Brandon is a player who skated 27 games. Wow, it just seems like that's way under. Like he could have got more than that. He's got to have an NMC on there at least. A full no movement. He doesn't even have a no movement clause. Crowder over 10.5 points. I don't know what that means. As you can tell, I don't cap whatever you're saying. Oh, Crowder. Okay. For basketball. That must be for basketball. I don't follow basketball at all, Elliot. Off the Wall did a video on it. Yeah, go check that out too. Yeah, I'm sure he just put it out as fast as he possibly could. I'm sure he's very happy with that contract. I'm sure John is like over the moon for that contract. Yeah, I don't follow NBA. I don't follow NBA or anything right now. The only thing I'm doing right now, Elliot, is tennis and UFC. That's it. And then hockey season comes. I lose all my patrons and everything now because I don't go into like all the other sports. I don't have time for it. So. Oh, the Carlo contract. Yeah, Brandon Carlo just got a 6-year, $4.1 million per, $24.6 million contract. Absolute steal of a contract, I think. Brandon Carlo's a top 4 defenseman. One of the better defensive defensemen in the league. I'd say, up there in the top 8 at least, if not higher. He should be making somewhere around 6. If he were to go on the open market right now, somebody probably would give him $6 million a year. Next year I'll probably do some more live streaming of hockey games for sure. Like I said, I'm going to be doing Tuesday, Thursday evenings for quite some time. When I get my own place, when I get my bigger place that I'm planning on getting, I'm going to be doing evenings almost all the time. So in which case I'll be streaming a lot of games. Yeah, do you think that's too much, Elliot? I thought that was a great contract. I was blown away. I thought he would at least be $5 million for Carlo. I thought it would be at least $5 million a year for Carlo. So with the first... Okay, I'm going to go through every team, and I'm going to say who I think, if they don't make any deals. Oh, what did I see? I saw a deal where Tampa Bay trades Johnson to Buffalo with a pick for Rasmus Ristolainen. And it didn't make any sense to me. Except, like, Ristolainen's going to be a free agent next year. So I guess they would be able to get out of the term for Johnson. The great thing for Buffalo for getting a guy like Johnson is that he's great for the culture in the room. Carlo's one of the best defensive defensemen. I think he's up there with, like, he's not as good as Slavin. He's probably not quite as good as Pelech, but like in below there, if you look at defensive defensemen in the league, some of the guys that, I guess defensive defensemen don't get enough due. If you look at it, they made that deal thinking, I'm going to say that, like, they put him in the Sherratt category. And Sherratt's making $3.5. Now, Ben Sherratt's going to be a free agent next year. I bet you he's looking at that going, oh, really? That's it? Because he got $3.5 last year. So, do you think Ben Sherratt's going to get more than Carlo? I think he's right about there. If you look at defensive, really solid. What are the Islanders playing Pelech? Maybe his market is just bad when you look at it. He could have broke open a little bit of a new market for that type of defenseman because they're very valuable right now. Pulak's getting $5 million. And Pelech is a restricted free agent this year. So, wonder what he's thinking right now that Carlo signed that for $4 million. I think Pelech is a better defenseman than Pulock. So Ryan Pulock at $5 million. Now Ryan Pulock has a bigger shot than Carlo does. He can play on the power play a bit more, and he scores more points. The question is he as good defensively as Carlo? That's debatable, I suppose. So maybe as you look at it, the market just hasn't been broken open for a defensive defenseman right now. Carlo had a chance right there to do it, and he didn't take it. He took the $4 million for 6 years, and he was happy with it. Maybe that's it. It's just that the market for defensive defensemen hasn't really hit its peak. Really hasn't hit. Pulock would be one of the guys that would be up there, although you can't really call him he had 37 points one year. It's not really defensive defenseman. Trying to see, what did Demelin get? That would be another guy. He would be in the Demelin category. Demelin's making 4.1 now, but Demelin signed that contract in 2018. You see what I mean? I would put Carlo in that Demelin category, and he's only making as much as Carlo is now, and he signed that contract in 2018. So that's pretty odd. It seemed like Boston got out pretty strong on this one. Anybody disagree with me? Anybody think it was an overpayment for that? I don't think it was an overpayment to put at all. Like, I think they got a pretty good deal on it. He's a special type of defenseman too, though. Like, you don't see many big guys that can play like him that don't put up offense much and all of those things in the NHL. Like, he can skate pretty well. He covers a lot of ground. He does a lot of different things for a team that it's, you can't really put up on the board and say, he did this, he got this many points. It's hard to gauge it a little bit, I suppose. But I think he undersold himself a tad. Maybe he just didn't care all that much. He just wants to do what's best for the team. He's making a lot of money. Boston probably went into this saying, look, it's looking like we're going to rebuild here. And if we got to pay you $6 million a year, that's just more likely that we're going to rebuild soon. So we leave it up to you. If you want to be competitive here for a while longer, leaving a couple million on the table is going to help that out quite a bit because they are basically on the verge of a rebuild as it is. So he probably mulled it over and thought, I don't want to go anywhere else with Boston. I'm going to take one for the team. And then somewhere down the road, maybe Boston gives him one of those, Daniel Sedin's jobs after he's finished playing, where he basically just plays golf with the title, making, $500,000 a year till they die or something like that. Like that, I think you're going to see a lot more of that. Watch Tom Dundon do that quite a bit with players. They take less money, and he's like eventually Aho will have a big contract, or Svechnikov or something like that. And he'll say, look, shave off a couple million, and people are going to be like, holy crap, that's all he signed for? And then Svechnikov gets a title, skate sharpener or something like that. It'd be a more fancy title than that. Special assistant to the general manager or something like that for $500,000 a year. That is amazing to me that he doesn't have a no movement clause. That really blows me away that there's no NMC there. What's John saying about it, Bill? I wonder, I wonder if I can just post it up here and we can watch it right now. Wouldn't that be cool? YouTube. I wonder if I can post it up and we can listen to it right now.
Today, I, along with my colleague Chris, will share with you the latest.
I'll turn on my window capture.
And ad mob, designed to help you acquire valuable users and earn more revenue.
For ads-funded games, a well-thought-out monetization strategy can help you create lasting revenue from in-app ads. That's why today I'm excited to share with you how the latest product enhancements from AdMob can help you maximize the ads revenue potential of your games.
Audio output capture. Can you guys hear that? Oh. Can you guys hear that?
Everybody.
All right.
So we have got some big signing news this afternoon involving the Boston Bruins. They have re-signed restricted free agent defenseman Brandon Carlo to a 6-year contract worth $4.1 million per season. And I absolutely love this deal. This is very, very important for the Bruins to get Carlo back, and they have done it on a very team-friendly AAV as well. Super excited to get into this one. We'll delve into it here in just a second. Before we begin, I just ask that you please hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't. It helps the channel an absolute ton and is greatly appreciated. But let's take a look here. Brandon Carlo returning to the Boston Bruins. So Brandon Carlo is a right-shot defenseman, just 24 years old. He's already played in the NHL for a number of years, which makes it seem like he's older than he actually is. But he's played 324 career games, scoring 15 goals, 40 assists for 55 points, and a plus 58 rating. Now, he did miss a lot of this past season due to a concussion sustained on a hit from Tom Wilson, and we'll get more.
Okay, you guys said that he didn't. You guys said that he didn't like it. He said he likes it a lot. What do you mean he doesn't like it? He likes it a lot. It sounds like.
Issues after, but he played 27 games this year, scoring 3 goals and 1 assist for 4 points and a +1 rating. But the stats are very deceiving with Brandon Carlo. This kid is one of the best young shutdown defensive defensemen in the NHL.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, him and I totally agree on this. I thought for sure he was going to like this.
And he does what he does best, and that is keep the puck out of his own net. And he is incredibly good defensively and incredibly important to the Boston Bruins back end. So, as I said, it's a 6-year deal with a cap hit of $4.1 million per season, which is very, very team-friendly given how good Carlo is defensively. Anytime that you can get a right-shot, shut-down defenseman for this low of a cap hit, under $4.5 million per year, that is a huge win for the Boston.
Yeah, I totally agree with him here so far. Now I'm looking at it like from other players out there. It was probably difficult to gauge where they were going to put him, but I like it.
Boston Bruins, and I absolutely love this deal. Brandon Carlo is one of the most important players on the Bruins, and we saw that this past playoffs when he got injured against the New York Islanders. That completely changed that series, and I 100% believe that the Bruins would have won that series if Carlo had stayed healthy.
Oh, good point.
If he hadn't gotten hurt, there's no way Boston's defense would have collapsed the way that it did without, with Carlo still in the lineup. And I think Carlo is a much better player than a lot of people realize, especially outside of Boston. Obviously, he doesn't do a ton offensively, and I do think there's still room to grow with him offensively. I think he can become a guy who gives you 25 points, 30 points a year from the back end, but he's not really at that point yet as far as offensive output. It really doesn't matter. Brandon Carlo is not there for offensive output. Brandon Carlo is a shutdown defensive defenseman who is incredibly strong in his own zone, and he can take out the other team's top players and shut them down. And he's done that already at a very, very young age in the NHL. And I just absolutely love this deal. Absolutely love this deal. He's only 24, so I'm not worried about the 6 years. I think the cap hit is extremely team-friendly. This is just all around tremendous for the Boston Bruins. This is a guy who is so important to this team. A deal that had to get done, and a player that had to be back for the Boston Bruins. And to get him on this kind of contract is an absolute win. I don't know what else to say. Core and how good he is defensively from Cal Clutterbuck, and wasn't able to play the rest of the series after that. So the only concern.
Anyways, sounds like he's pretty happy about it. Oh wait, we said the only
for me is the fact that sometimes staying healthy is an issue for Carlo. But man, when he is in the lineup and when he is healthy, he is one of the most underrated defensemen in the NHL, up to being a 25-point guy.
Yeah, that's amazing. I guess I'll go back to I'll take this off of. But that's the thing. Everybody wants a guy to play like the way Carlo plays. But then on the same note, everybody's worried that he'll get injured and he won't be using his contract anymore. Like his contract will be no good anymore. So you got to pay the guy that does what he does, what he does there. So I thought it'd be fun to go look at his John's video there and see what he had to say. Pretty much the exact same thing I would have to say about that. Okay, sorry. Now I got to get rid of my output. There we go. Okay. So does anybody disagree? Does anybody think that Boston paid too much there? Oh, he isn't happy that he doesn't have a no movement clause. Oh, is that what you're saying? Okay. Yeah. I mean, it's a bonus because now, I mean, he can't even really control where he goes. Like, he can trade him at any time. I'm really surprised he doesn't have an NMC. You get $4 million. Like, usually if you ask for an NMC, they'll say, okay, but we're going to give you less money because you have the NMC. Because that takes the leverage out of us, out of the team. It takes leverage away from the team to be able to trade a player. So to pay that back, you give less money on the cap. So they have more money to sign other players and so on and so forth like that. That's generally how it works. Players that you could kind of put in his realm would be like Jacob Slavin. Slavin's making $5 million a year, but he signed his in 2018 too. So, I mean, he's not as good as Slavin, but Slavin signed it 4 years ago. He's at least as good as Slavin was when Slavin signed it. Brady Shea, he's making $5 million. Like, I don't know, man. As far as basically just from a selfish perspective, he really sold himself short financially on that deal. I think Carlo sold himself short, but he's got that choice to do that. I mean, it seems obvious to me that he wants to be competitive in Boston for a longer period of time. And he took a lower deal for that reason and that reason alone. So, now they can have a better chance of signing guys like Hall, they have a better chance of bringing Krejci back. McAvoy is going to need a decent deal. What does McAvoy do now? And how much do they talk? What does McAvoy go in and say, Carlo, they can go and say, Carlo took a little less. Are you willing to take a little less too? And all that kind of stuff like that. So it's a difficult thing. It's not easy for a player to take less in a lot of ways because they have to answer to their teammates too. And those teammates all have families that need to get paid for their payment of their salaries and all that kind of stuff like that. I don't know I think they could get 5 each. Their salaries are $30 million. Let's see, what do they have left? What does Boston have left after that deal? Good question. Could look at that. By the way, I'm going to change the title while I'm doing this. Okay, so cap-friendly Boston. What does Boston have? After making that deal... Do they have it there? Carlo, 4.1. They've got... They still got 26 million. What do you mean? Who do they have to sign yet? They got it. Okay. They probably give Curali $1.5 million if he doesn't go somewhere else. They may Charlie McAvoy next year. Tuukka Rask won't need his contract right away. But they will, and yeah, so I don't think they're that bad off. What do you mean? I think Taylor Hall will maybe $6 million, maybe? Depends how long he wants his contract. He's 29 years old. If they give him 3-4 years at $5 million apiece, maybe he'll sign that. Maybe he'll be finally happy to just take a contract and be with the team. Krejci, David Krejci's 35 years old. His last contract was what, like $8 million, wasn't it? 7.2. 35 years old. Last year he put up 44 points in 51 games is not bad. I think they both get around... it's tough. 44 points in 51 games is pretty good. They're going to have to take a cut. Maybe 6 to 7 each, 13 million, something like that. Does that make sense? Because 44 points in 51 games is pretty darn good even for a 35-year-old. Like, he's still got a lot of life in him there, Krejci. He was injured a lot at one time, but he seems to be out of that now. Does that sound about right? Those are tough calls. I don't think Krejci's going to get the same as he got before. I think Krejci's going to be about 5 if he stays in Boston. He might be able to get 7 somewhere else, but the question is, do you want to stay in Boston or not? I'm not even sure, Bill, that he's coming back. John Weichel still says halt to the lease. If he goes somewhere else, he's going to make more than 5. If he's in Boston, he might stay for 5.5, and get like a 3-4 year deal. Something like that. You're kind of hoping that he wants to settle down now. He's moved everywhere. He went for the Oilers. He made $6 million back in the day. And then he went to New Jersey and then to Arizona, then 1 year in Buffalo. You know, is it time to settle down now and just take a nice contract at 5.5 for like, you know, maybe he didn't get 5 years. He's only 29 till he's 34. And you can settle in Boston for the rest. Charlie McAvoy will take 4. Yeah. Charlie McAvoy's got to get 10 a year. At least 10. He should have had more votes for the Norris this past year. Charlie McAvoy was a beast for Boston, man. If he only gets... No, he's not getting 4. He's getting way more than 4. For sure, no doubt about that. He's getting 10... He seriously could ask for 12 for 8 years, and he wouldn't be putting him. It wouldn't be totally ridiculous to ask. I don't know if Boston would do it, but it wouldn't be totally ridiculous to ask. He's a Norris Trophy candidate for the next 7 or 8 years. The way $12 million 8 years from now is not even going to look bad if he does happen to win a Norris. So, yeah, I'm a little bit confused now because of what Carlo got. What everybody else is he going to be like Joe Sakic and convince everybody on the team to take like $2-3 million cuts? We didn't even talk about that. Landeskog apparently is very disappointed, and Colorado and Landeskog are very far apart, right? And with only a couple weeks to free agency, Landeskog and Colorado are very far apart on a deal. Though from what I read, to me, it sounds like a bunch of stuff a player says when he doesn't think he's coming back, which is mind-blowing to me. Yeah, but they're not. If they pick up a veteran goalie, what veteran goalie is gonna go there if they think Rask might come back? I just don't see it. They're not gonna get a goaltender that good. Who's gonna go there for $4 million? Wait, you're gonna go trade for Talbot out of Minnesota, maybe, and then he's gonna be like pissed off because why am I here? Rask is gonna be back in a half a year. And then you're going to have to send Talbot to the minors or sit on his butt for a long time. I mean, and then trying to sign a free agent that's going to go there with Rask coming back. Unless you know for sure the Rask isn't coming back, I don't see it. I think that could be the problem in Boston. If Rask doesn't come back, but a goaltender is going to want to know he's not coming back before he really signs a deal. And as of right now, Rask has not said either way. So that's really the problem there, I think. Frederik Andersen to Seattle? Maybe. Frederik Andersen anywhere, really, it comes down to what a team's doctors finds out about that injury. And what's the possibility of it being a reoccurring injury over and over and over again? Might not be a bad idea. I think I still like San Jose. Somebody that's basically in roll the dice mode. San Jose is in roll the dice mode right now because they can't do much with their contracts they have. They're in a terrible spot to be a rebuilding team because they have so many veterans on their team. They're at a stage right now where I think they just got to roll the dice and hope for the best. And I think Andersen could make some sense that way, where it's just like, please work out, please work out, please work out. Because as long as they have Jones as their number one, it's not likely that they're going to be able to make the playoffs. And because of their crazy contracts for Carlson, Marc-Edouard Vlasic, and Burns, and a few other players, they don't have the cap room to go get a goaltender. Trading Jones is a difficult proposition. Who's going to want him? He's making $6 million a year. That organization is a mess. But a move like that might, like, if Andersen is healthy and stays healthy all year, Jones doesn't have to play that much, they could be okay. But if Swayman gets hurt, Boston's screwed. Face it. Simple as that. Boston could miss the playoffs this year if they have any goaltending issues at all. If Swayman retracts and can't handle the workload or gets injured or something like that, they are in big trouble. No doubt about it. Not likely making the playoffs. They got to go with Vladar. It's going to be tough. They really got to hope that Swayman holds it together. Martin Jones is nowhere near worth $6 million. That's for sure. Yeah, absolutely, no doubt about that. I think you should too, Bill. I just think it's very. What kind of goaltender do you think you're going to get? Rask is putting Boston in a pretty tough spot. You might get Wedgwood out of New Jersey. We'll never get a compromise. Yeah, I don't know. The Olympic people are very hard to work with. They're very arrogant. They think they don't need anybody. So, I think they should pick up a goaltender too, but I just don't see the goaltender out there that they can pick up. I think what they have to do is, there's no way they're getting any one of those guys. Lehner, why you're going to go trade for Lehner, who's got $5 million for the next 5 years. And then what do you do when Rask comes back? Trade Lehner again? And what you're going to have to give up for Lehner is going to be pretty significant. And then hopefully you can trade him at the deadline. You just can't treat guys like that. But Mrazek's not going to sign there. The only way Mrazek can sign there is if all the goaltending positions are gone, and he's like, this is the only way I'm going to be a number one. This is the only way I'm going to stay in the NHL. So, Devin Dubnyk maybe. But I think Devin Dubnyk at this stage of his career, before he would sign in a team that go to the AHL, he would just retire. The whole thing is that anybody you sign there, if Rask is going to come back for sure, they're going to be in the AHL or sitting on the pine halfway through the year. Unless Swayman gets hurt, then they'd be okay. But barring that, they're not putting Swayman down in the minors. Unless Swayman struggles and they send Swayman down in the minors and then they keep whatever veteran they have up for the whole year. You know, they could go to a guy, maybe Anderson. Anderson, maybe. Yeah, that would be about the only one I could think of. Anderson may be a good enough guy that'd be like, he probably wouldn't get a job. He's probably not going to get a backup role anywhere right now. So that's a possibility. McElhaney out of Tampa Bay, somebody like that. He doesn't move the meter much, but he's a guy that you can play every once in a while. I would say Anderson's probably your best bet, yeah. Out of all the guys I've looked at, he may not mind going to the minors. Because it's extending his career one more year that he may not have gotten. And I think that's the kind of guys that you got to look for. Guys that you're extending their careers one more year. Other than that, you can look for guys like maybe see if you can trade for Tokarski in Buffalo. I don't know if they're going to give him a backup contract or whatever, but Tokarski pretty much has played in the minors his whole career. He'd be happy to get a one-way contract. And he didn't do too bad in Buffalo. He wouldn't be you don't want to play him too much, but, that's possible, something like that. Somebody that's just going to be happy having a one-way contract, making $750, whether it's to finish off their career or, a guy like Tokarski who has been a guy that's played in the minors most of his career, hasn't really had that NHL money too much. So Vanacek makes some sense. Braden Holtby would no. Braden Holtby, no. I don't see Braden Holtby going to the minors. What is he? How many? What does he have? One more year left? I think Braden Holtby, he's kind of a whiner. I think if you traded for him, you'd be pretty pissed. I don't think Braden Holtby would be too happy to go to the minors. And you're paying him in the minors for, I think he's making a pretty significant amount of money too, if I remember correctly. $4.3 million. So that's still going to be a lot on your cap. That's asking a lot. I wouldn't pay that much. He's going to be an unrestricted free agent next year. I suppose you could promise to trade them at the deadline. You might be able to find somebody like, well, we promise to try to trade you right away as soon as Tuukka comes back, but you might have to go down to the minors for a little bit. Maybe. Vanacek does make some sense. Because, he was playing in the minors 2 years ago. So if you're paying him on a one-way contract, he may not be too unhappy to go down to the minors if he has to. And he doesn't have much of a choice because it's not like he has a no movement clause or anything like that. So, yeah, that's a pretty good deal. That's a good possibility. If McAvoy gets hurt, yeah, they're done. They don't have. I think that's the other thing is Boston needs to get another defenseman. They still need to get a defenseman and some depth wingers and stuff like that that can score. Some scorers on their depth. And I think another defenseman for sure. They just can't go back into that season with that defense. And I think that defenseman could very well be Suter. I really think Suter fits well there. So, yeah, for sure. If McAvoy gets hurt, they're done big time. But I think they'll go out and get another defenseman yet. I don't know who that would be or how they're going to get it. Maybe like I said, Suter would be one. And depending on what you sign him for, you might even be able to get another one. But that young defense was just terrible last year. It looks like they're going to lose one, too, in Lausanne unless they do something. So, not like they just simply have to do something with that defense. We got to get more depth there. And even if they do, you're right. If McAvoy gets hurt, they're in big trouble. If that Swayman kid keeps on playing like he did at the end last year, that would be, that could bail him out big time too. Who are you going to give up for Gaudreau, though, Bill? Who is they going to give up? Who's Boston going to give up for Gaudreau? I looked at them a little while ago. I had Gaudreau going to a few places. I looked at the Bruins, but I just don't see what they can. I don't think they're touching Charlie Coyle. nothing really moves the needle. You can't really give up defense. Your first round pick in DeBrusque is probably not going to do it. This is Calgary, though, so you never know. You could get away with, you could be completely surprised what they do. Let's see what they got here. John Beecher. There's not much coming up in the Boston pipeline either. You could put Beecher in there, but I mean, what did he get? 6'3", 212, big boy. Didn't put up great numbers in the University of Michigan. As of right now, at 20 years old, he's looking to project at possibly a fourth liner. Not a huge prospect. And that's one of the best prospects for Boston. So, not looking too good to get Gaudreau. I just don't see the package that could be put together to get a Johnny Gaudreau. DeBrusque by himself is not going to do it. The first round pick and DeBrusque probably not going to do it. Yeah, who are you going to give up for Gaudreau? That would be my big question. I don't like that deal. Okay, let's say you said Zaboral. They have to like those guys a lot to do that deal. Lausanne, as it stands, looks like an expansion fodder. So, if you're Calgary, you're going to give him up for free. We're going to put him in a deal for Gaudreau. Zaboral hasn't been able to make the lineup yet this year in his career. And Jake DeBrusque is a guy that they've been wanting to get rid of for a while. They've been contemplating trading for quite some time. So the first rounder has some, but I'm not sure. If you look at a team like Philadelphia for Johnny Gaudreau, or let's just look at another team here that could be interested in Gaudreau. I think the LA Kings might have some interest. And you listen to what they would offer and tell me, do you think you would take what you just said or what they would offer? Johnny Gaudreau, they're really driven right now to win. So Alex Iafallo, first of all, because he's a left winger, or Adrian Kempe. And Tobias Bjornfurt and a first-round pick. They've got their number 6 overall. Just that alone probably beats that package you offered. The sixth, is it the 6th overall? What is LA's draft pick this year? What are they picking this year? Oh, look at that. Sportsnet's draft prospects rankings put out 4 hours ago. Let's take a look at that on our way out. Anyways, LA picks 7th. It doesn't say here who LA. Anyways, yeah, so they could even offer that up. So I think Boston would have a difficult time getting Gaudreau with the prospect pool that they have. Greg DeBrusque, Craig Smith, Nick Ritchie. That's a lot of players. That's a lot of players, but not a lot of players that, I mean, Craig Smith is on the tail end of his career. Jake DeBrusk, again, has been struggled. They really got to believe in DeBrusk for that deal. That's a lot of pieces. I'm just not sure that all those pieces match up to much. It's a lot of the same type of player. Yeah. Seattle picked second overall. Anyways, they just posted on Sportsnet their top 100. Owen Powers still number one. And they say that his place was cemented as his performance at the IHF Men's World Championships. So they're saying that Buffalo is number one for sure. So I would say if Buffalo doesn't take him, it's because he said he doesn't want to play in Buffalo. Second pick is Beniers. And that would be, of course, the Seattle Kraken. Safest pick in the class. Like a Dylan Larkin type is what they're saying. That a team will want to keep forever. Okay? Not bad. Number 3, they have Simone Edvinsson, which would be Anaheim. I'm not sure Anaheim would pick that. No, pick that. But that's who they have. Number 4 is Dylan Guenther, who I agree. Dylan Guenther is probably... I would, and the number 5 is William Eklund. I think I would put Eklund above. He had 23 points in 40 games in the Swedish Hockey League last year. But Dylan Guenther crushed in junior, so it's close. But William Eklund is a center. Dylan Guenther is a winger. Then Luke Hughes at number 6, who I don't think would ever get past New Jersey. He's almost as good as his brother as far as offense is concerned, and he's way bigger than his brother. 7th, they got Brant Clark, who is more like a Quinn Hughes type. And then 8, McTavish. 9, Kent Johnson. 10, Cole Sillinger. Matthew Coronado jumps up to 11th. Chaz Lucius, Fabian Lysell. And then Brennan Othman, they got up to number 14. I know that Lauren Darkin talked a lot about him. Jesper Wallstedt at number 15, I think that's way too low. He should be higher than that. And Sebastian Costa is only two after him, both of them goaltenders. 2 really good goaltenders for the future. But anyways, and then I'll Atu Ratti is down to 26th. At one point, Atu Ratti was considered the number 1 pick. Production has never equaled to his work rate, and despite being a young phenom before his draft year, he hasn't lived up to expectations, managing only 3 points in 35 games this season in Finland's Pro League. So I suppose that's why. But that's a lot, Bill Torlep, but I mean, I just don't think that the amount of prospects is going to matter to the level of prospects that might be offered out there. No, actually, no. The only one that might be NHL ready yet, I believe, is Power. It's not a super deep draft for NHL ready players. Holy crap! It's time. It's up. So, all right. Tomorrow we're going to be in the evening again from 5:30 to 7:30 Mountain, 7:30 to 9:30 Eastern. We got a lot more people watching them, which makes sense because most people are at work and stuff like that. But that was fun. I enjoyed it. We're going to do it again tomorrow night. Thanks for coming in. That's my full 42, boys and girls. You guys are awesome. We'll see you tomorrow where the frolic will be endless and we'll be Pearlo dancing like nobody's business. Have a great day. Okay, bye.